Howdy y'all, happy Groundhog Day. Most likely you already know 6 more weeks of winter is going to be in store, unfortunately, because Punxsutawney Phil saw his shadow and apparently a groundhog can predict the weather. But good news is, Trump's going to be in office for 4 years and he's already fixing the country up the way it needs to be. So this is very good, as we're making America great once again. Now, Groundhog has only been right only 30% of the time within the past 10 years. He's predicted more winter than he has early spring. And he's been doing this ever since 1887. And here's some Groundhog Day facts I put together for y'all. Of course, February 2nd is the time we celebrate this, but the reason behind this dates back to some European traditions called Candlemas, which is also celebrated on February 2nd. We kind of just adopted that from over there. And in Germany, the animal used to predict the weather was the hedgehog. However, here in North America, hedgehogs aren't native. So that means that the groundhog, known as a woodchuck, became our sort of redneck meteorologist, essentially. Now, the legend of the groundhog is that, of course, sees his shadow, more winter, doesn't see his shadow, like I predicted in my last video, then it means early spring. And we all know he's been making predictions ever since 1887, and according to the Groundhog Club, Phil is said to be immortal, with each new Phil supposedly receiving the name and mantle of the previous one, so he lives on for eternity. Now, of course, throughout the country, there's other sort of Groundhog Day celebrations, like in New York, for example, with the Staten Island Chuck, and in Ontario, which is going to be where our 51st state's going to be at, with the Wharton Willie. You can see the media and popular culture of Groundhog Day holiday gained broader cultural recognition with the release of Groundhog Day, which we all know what that movie's all about. It means that you're pretty much replaying the same day over and over and over, and that's what most people live their life like. They live their life like Groundhog Day. It's like we did the past 4 years. Now, of course, we all know scientific perspective from a groundhog. There's no scientific facts to back up the groundhog's predictions because we can't predict the weather via a woodchuck, which is common sense, which ain't very common nowadays. So basically, that's what sums this all up. Basically, Groundhog Day dates back to European times, relates to Candlemas, and basically the groundhog is not a meteorologist and doesn't predict the weather. It's going to take a look at whether or not he's going to be right or not. We can see here on the National Weather Service alert page, the Northwest is dealing with some winter-like conditions and just a whole bunch of nastiness up there as an atmospheric river is impacting y'all. So we can see prolonged heavy rain and snowfall events in the Northwest. We can see winter storm warnings, advisories, and watches, and a lot of flooding going on in Northern California and even parts of Southern California as well. And y'all need the rain, and y'all are actually getting the water you need to put out the fires because they opened up a dam down there, and y'all are getting the water flow that you need. And it's actually going to be pretty nice down there, actually, too. So enjoy the day down there. And we can see the snowfall forecast of what y'all are going to get in Montana. Right around 8 to 12, 12 to 18 is going to be possible. And this could come with some prolonged cold conditions, which we'll get into this here in a little bit. So it's looking like by the middle of the month, we could be coming in on some below to way below average temperatures. Let's go ahead and get into the precipitation forecast before we get into the temperatures. See the Northwest getting slammed with snow, which sucks because our snow finally melted here in southern Indiana finally. It's looking like we're going to get back into this soggy pattern as we head into this coming weekend with some icing up here in northern Indiana, Ohio, and parts of Illinois. Heavy snow up here in the upper Midwest, up by Michigan and western New York, heading out of the country as we head into this coming weekend. And the West is still dealing with some heavy precipitation because atmospheric river is going to continue over and over and over. And it's looking like you're going to get a break from this as we head into and past this coming weekend. And it's looking like the eastern part of the country is going to come in on back-to-back systems as we head into this weekend and past this coming weekend. So prepare for that. Get a little bit of a break as we head into the middle of the month. We could be coming in on some very chilly conditions. As you can see, a trough is coming down. And then our next system is going to be rolling in, which this is well over 264 hours out. Could come in on some severe weather here in the deep south, which is not too unusual because this is pretty common to see in February down in the deep south. We could be coming in on our next potential snowstorm up here in the Ohio Valley, especially up here in the northeast with an ice storm potential in eastern Pennsylvania. Be keeping an eye on this. This is too far out to predict any sort of snow totals, so I don't want to be fear-mongering or show y'all inaccurate snow totals. And of course, 300 hours out, the models are just going to show y'all end of the world kind of stuff. Which, speaking of end of the world, I don't want to get too sidetracked here, but astronomers discovered a 196-foot asteroid that has a 1 in 83 chance of hitting Earth by 2032. So this is pretty concerning. Hopefully they deter this asteroid. I know they were doing something a while back to deter an asteroid. I don't remember if that actually worked or not, but remember they did something like this a while back. They tried to deter it and it worked or didn't work. I don't really remember, but 2032 will be here before we know it, y'all. And we all know Trump has a Diet Coke button, which could turn into a asteroid deterring button. So hopefully he turns that into an asteroid deterring button here soon. Now onto the risk of heavy precipitation from the 8th into the 14th. We can see heavy precipitation is expected as we head into the middle of the month for the eastern half of the country and a little bit of south central part too. With back-to-back systems expected, we can expect a lot of heavy precipitation soon. As far as snow goes, the northern and northeastern half of the country coming in on some heavy snowfall as well. So expect that as we head into this coming weekend and past this coming weekend, unfortunately. And on top of that, we could expect some heavy winds down here in the southwest. Not good for the wildfire conditions, but y'all have the adequate amount of water that you need to put out the wildfires, so not really too much to be worried about, hopefully, down there. But for kicks and giggles, I'm going to show y'all the National Blended Models, what they think as we head past this coming weekend. I know this is well over 200 some hours out, but looking like the Northeast is going to be getting slammed with snow as we head into the middle parts of the month, and we could be coming in on some more snowfall here in Indiana and Ohio, but very uncertain as to if we will actually get on any, but I'll be keeping y'all posted on this, of course. Out west, y'all are getting in on some heavy snowfall through this weekend as well, so y'all are going to be coming in on a lot of snowfall, especially in the Montana, so definitely prepare for that. As far as precip goes, a lot of heavy precipitation as well. Coming in on precipitation down here in Southern California too. So it's looking like much of the country is heading into an above average precipitation pattern as we head into the middle parts of the month, except for parts of the southwest. And next 8 to 14 days, really much of the country except for Florida is going to be coming in on well needed precipitation. So it's looking like back-to-back systems is going to be in store out east, and some atmospheric overlay conditions could be in store as we head into and past this coming weekend, so prepare for that if you live out there. I'll be posting a lot more on X and Facebook on this. So now, other than precipitation, since we know we're going to be coming in on a lot of heavy precipitation for much of the country as we head into the middle of the month, let's go ahead and take a look at the temperatures to see if that groundhog will be right. And of course out west he will be right, because it's always cold, at least all the way into June it seems like. And of course tomorrow it's looking like it's going to be pretty warm out. On Monday, 80-degree temperatures in Texas, 70-degree temperatures up here in Indiana, so I'll be out there and enjoying the nice weather tomorrow. And then it's going to be cooling down again, and then going to remain warm down here in the deep south all the way into Texas. Very chilly up here in the northern half though, especially up here in Montana where that snowstorm's occurring. I know y'all that live up there are probably jealous of Florida. Y'all are in the negatives while they're in the 80s. And it's looking like we're going to remain in this pattern for at least quite some time as we head into this coming weekend. But I'm expecting it to change as we head into this weekend with some very bitterly cold temperatures, wiping out those nice temperatures as we head into next week. Now, colder is going to win out, as shown earlier. We're back into some below average to way below average temperatures, especially up here in the northwest. It's looking like that groundhog is going to be right. Y'all are going to be fooled as we head into this coming weekend, because it's going to be all nice and warm out. It's going to go from the 70s down into the single digits as we head into next week. So definitely prepare for that and don't be caught off guard by these very chilly temperatures, as winter is not over until March. We see above average temperatures all the way up into parts of the northeast. It's extending all the way down into the southwest, well above average down here by Florida. Northwest is well below average, so cold up here in the northwest, warm down here in the southeast. But expected to change as we head into the middle and parts of the end of the month, as that cold air is going to start to stretch its way down again and wipe out those warm temperatures, and hopefully y'all don't get caught off guard, because fortunately winter's not over yet, y'all. As it's looking like that groundhog's going to be correct. You see the risk of hazardous temperatures as we head into the middle of the month. The northern half of the country is coming in on a slight to moderate risk up here in the northwest, so prepare for some bitterly cold air up there, and like I said earlier, prepare for some snow if you live from Nebraska all the way up into the Northeast, as much more snowstorms is looking likely as we head into the middle of the month. So basically what I'm saying is, from now into this weekend, going to be a little bit warmer than average here out east, but expected to get cold as we head into and past Valentine's Day. As far as precip goes, just expect it to be very soggy from now all the way into Valentine's Day. Back-to-back systems are going to be in store, which could result in severe weather down here in the deep south, and some snowstorms potentially up here in the Ohio Valley, up in the upper Midwest, and parts of the Northeast. And of course, the Mountain West, not leaving y'all out, but basically y'all are just going to remain cold from now into the middle of the month, with some atmospheric river-like conditions continuing into this weekend. But y'all might get a break as we head past this coming weekend. But I'll be keeping y'all informed on X and Facebook, so make sure you follow those pages. I'll be keeping y'all informed on there. So now that I covered our weather pattern for the next couple of weeks, and it's looking like that groundhog is going to be right in the long term and wrong in the short term, I actually want to show y'all something very interesting that occurred yesterday, and really the day before, but apparently on Mars, they found a pyramid on there, so there could have been life on Mars, and hopefully Elon Musk develops some rockets that can make space travel possible and gets us to Mars and back, and hopefully that we can sustain life on Mars. But of course, hopefully that there's no life on Mars, because if there is, then our government's most likely going to be sending money to them. So, I mean, hopefully we can inhabit that planet. That'd be very cool, but I doubt it. But I found this to be very fascinating for y'all. Now, on to some wartime weather history. The Revolutionary War, Morristown encampment in 1779 and 1780. While not a single event, the harsh winter conditions in Morristown, New Jersey during this period included some of the coldest weather seen in early February. Although not directly in combat, the weather severely tested the endurance of the Continental Army, impacting their health, supplies, and readiness. Civil War. The Mud March, of course, I mentioned this in the last video as well. But after the Battle of Fredericksburg in late January to early February of 1863, Union General Ambrose Burnside attempted to move his army across the Rappahannock River. The weather turned to rain, creating a sea of mud that made movements nearly impossible. The Mud March became a fiasco, further lowering Union morale and leading to Burnside's replacement by Joseph Hooker. Now here's some other wartime weather events during World War II. The Battle of Stalingrad in 1943. By early February, the German Sixth Army, surrounded in Stalingrad, was facing not just the Soviet forces, but also the brutal Russian winter. On February 2nd, 1943, the remaining German forces surrendered, marking a turning point in the Eastern Front. The extreme cold, with temperatures dropping well below negative 30 degrees Celsius and negative 22 degrees Fahrenheit, severely hampered German logistics, mobility, and morale. Operation Shingle, Anzio landings in 1944. In Italy, the Allied forces attempted to break through the German Gustav Line by landing at Anzio in late January 1944. However, the weather in early February turned into rain and mud, which bogged down the offensive, complicating logistics and movement. The Allies were unable to capitalize on their initial surprise due to these conditions. Now, during the Korean War, there was the Chosin Reservoir campaign in 1950. The retreat from Chosin Reservoir in late 1950 extended into early February 1951, with the remnants of the fighting and the harsh winter conditions. Temperatures dropped to negative 40 degrees. And the cold was as much of an adversary as the Chinese and North Korean forces, affecting both sides, but particularly hampering mobility and logistics for the UN forces. Operation Dewey Canyon in 1969 during the Vietnam War. Although the operation began in late January, it extended into early February. The weather in Vietnam, while not as cold as in other theaters, brought heavy rain, which made the jungle terrain even more difficult to navigate, impacting the mobility and effectiveness of the troops. Now, this week in weather history, from now on to Valentine's Day, we could see the Great Blizzard of 1899. Much of the eastern part of the country was hit by what is known as the Great Blizzard of 1899. This event brought record cold temperatures, heavy snow, and ice from the Midwest to the Southeast, with some areas experiencing temperatures as low as -2 degrees in cities like Savannah, Georgia. The Groundhog Gale of 1976. On February 2nd, a powerful system hit the northeastern part of the country, particularly affecting New England. The storm brought hurricane-force winds, heavy snow, and coastal flooding, earning the nickname the Groundhog Day Gale. European cold snap of 2012. Early February 2012 saw a severe cold spell grip much of Western and Central Europe, with countries like the UK experiencing unusually low temperatures, heavy snowfall, and disruptions due to this cold snap. The blizzard of 78. Although it started at the end of January, the effects lingered into early February, particularly in the Midwest and Northeast, with places like Boston receiving over 27 inches of snow. Now, the Japanese snowstorms. Japan often experiences heavy snow in early February, especially in Hokkaido and Sea of Japan side of Honshu. Notable events include the heavy snowfalls that can paralyze, so basically snow can happen in Japan essentially. Other events in February weather history: back in 2014 on February 2nd, a significant winter storm affected parts of Oklahoma and Texas. Southwestern Oklahoma and western North Texas saw the heaviest snow, with some areas accumulating over a foot of snow. This storm also caused travel disruptions, with many accidents and slide-offs. Now, Valentine's Day of 1895. This period saw what is likely to be considered one of the most anomalous snowstorms on record for the Gulf Coast, particularly in Texas and Louisiana. Up to 2 feet of snow accumulated, marking an unprecedented snowfall for the Gulf Coast, which y'all saw a snowstorm, I think, a couple weeks ago, which paralyzed y'all down there pretty much. Set a record too. Now, early February of 2014, another notable event was a significant nor'easter with heavy snowfall across much of the northeastern part of the country. This storm caused considerable snow accumulations, with some areas experiencing rates up to 3 inches per hour and total accumulations between 1 to 2 feet in several regions. This event was particularly notable for its impact on snow removal due to residual snow from a previous snowstorm. So that's some events in weather history, y'all. So I hope y'all enjoyed today's weather forecast. If you did, make sure you hit that like and share buttons so more folks are informed about the weather. Also, leave me some feedback in the comment section down below, as feedback helps provide you, the viewer, better and more informative content in the future. Also, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, because at Hero Wins Weather, we try to make weather forecasting fun and informative. Also, we're on the channel if you want to check that out. It's WilliamsWX98. Trying to grow that page as well. So basically, to sum it up, this Groundhog is going to be incorrect in the short term, but as we head into the middle parts of February, Groundhog is looking to be correct, because looking like we're going to go from really warm temperatures and y'all are going to be caught off guard by that, but then y'all are going to be caught off guard by these very bitterly cold temperatures as we head into the middle parts of February. So please don't be caught off guard by these warm temperatures, because wintertime is not over yet. But if you live up in the western half of the country, in the northwest, really nothing new. Y'all are going to be dealing with some atmospheric river-like conditions, and it's just going to be very chilly over there, so just prepare for that. Again, like, comment, subscribe. Appreciate each and every one of y'all for tuning in. And until next time, never stop forecasting.